Hey all, welcome to Film Suck, a Patreon podcast in which we ponder the work of art in the age of crap cinema. I'm Eileen Jones.
I'm Dolores McElroy.
And today we are talking about the new film, The Bride. It's written and directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal. It's her second film after The Lost Daughter in 2021. And The Bride is inspired by, obviously, the 1818 novel Frankenstein, A Modern Prometheus by Mary Shelley, and also by the 1935 film directed by James Whale, The Bride of Frankenstein. And we'll talk later about like the many other film influences that arise in the film as well. But those are the two main catalysts, clearly. The Bride is about the spirit of Mary Shelley, who decides to possess a Chicago, what they used to call a bar girl, in the 1930s. Shelley feels she never got to fully express all she had to say in life. She didn't fully express all she had to say in the novel, so she wants to do it now posthumously. So she's picked this woman, and she names her Ida. Both of the characters, Mary Shelley and the Ida character, are played by Jessie Buckley. Everywhere we turn nowadays, we hit Jessie Buckley. Luckily, she's a great actor, and okay. Yeah. So further plot, and I'll be as quick as I can. Ida runs afoul, and this is all stuff you'll see in the preview, of her gangster boss, and is killed by his goons. This happens right in the beginning of the film. She's thrown down a flight of stairs and dies at the bottom of the staircase. She's resurrected by Frankenstein's monster, who's played by Christian Bale. He winds up getting called Frank in the film. He's still up and around after a couple hundred years, continuing to suffer torments of loneliness, and he's come to Chicago to persuade Dr. Euphronius, played by Annette Bening, to create a mate for him. So he's still trying to get a mate somehow. So Ida's is the corpse that they dig up, but once she's reanimated, she has no intention of being either the doctor's lab specimen or a mate for Frank. With almost no memory of her past or identity, she escapes and goes back to the rough world she vaguely remembers. She's followed by the besotted Frank, who makes himself her protector, and she really needs a protector because she seems to be constantly persecuted by cops and men with rape on their minds, who are also sometimes cops. So there's repeated, sexual assaults in the film. Soon they're on the run. Ida and Frank, though she's had some name changes since then, we'll get into that later. And and they're in a Bonnie and Clyde like kind of cross country chase in rural areas, etc., and having to shoot it out with cops. Heading up the police pursuit are Peter Sarsgaard, played a character named Jake Wiles. I'm wearing a Jake Wiles hat right here, just so you know what the hell is happening. Whereas Dolores has got some of the bride makeup on, which is very cool, and we'll get into, and a nice 30s style dress. So that's very lovely. So yeah, Peter Sarsgaard is a kind of burnt out police detective who relies on the brain power of his assistant, Myrna Malloy, played by Penelope Cruz. We'll get into that in a bit. And she's actually the brains of the outfit, but the only way she can get her kind of work out there, she has to have a front in the form of this burnt out male. So before we start discussing all of this in greater detail, please note, as usual, there will be spoilers. We're going to tell all. All right, let's get into this. Dolores, what did you think of The Bride?
I know. Start with positive stuff. I was very mixed and kind of confused, and the hard part about the film for me is it raises so many like deep thoughts, but they're often like conflicting, or I couldn't follow the logic through. So let me put the deep thoughts aside for a second. We'll get to those. But there were moments of genuine joy in this film. I thought Jessie Buckley was great and had really good chemistry with Christian Bale. And I love the Bonnie and Clyde moments. There were lots of the high point of the film, in my opinion, is when they infiltrate a high society party. And Christian Bale the whole time has been besotted with a male movie star played by Jake Gyllenhaal, whose character's name is Ronnie Reed. Ronnie Reed. And this guy on the screen has been like really meaningful to him. And Christian Bale as Frankenstein confesses how meaningful Ronnie Reed has
Mhm.
been to Ronnie Reed at this party. And Ronnie Reed rejects him and makes a joke at his expense. You know,
Mhm.
he said, sorry, honey, but you're not my type, to sort of
Mhm.
save face in front of his glamorous friends.
Mhm.
And that sets off like an expression of rage and dance.
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
and I thought that scene was very brilliantly played by both Jake Gyllenhaal and Christian Bale, because at
Mhm.
first Gyllenhaal's kind of like intrigued or doesn't know how to take it. It's like so overwhelming,
Mhm.
but it's all about just like the rejection of being monstrous,
Mhm.
and then they launch into a version of Putting on the Ritz, which is obviously an homage to Young Frankenstein,
Mhm.
um, another film that features the Bride of Frankenstein
Mhm.
prominently, right? And there's this like joyous, crazy musical number where the high society people join in, the monstrous pair, Frankenstein and the Bride,
Mhm.
because their bodies are sewn together. They've got these like funky movements that they do, and then everyone else follows suit. And it turns into it's the precursor to a very violent moment where the cops raid the place, and the
Mhm.
bride gets spooked, and she's got a gun on the whole room, but only so in the hopes that they'll let go of Frankenstein.
Mhm.
And some cop creeps up on her when she's got the gun, and she shoots him in a
Mhm.
panic. But this is one of those moments that it's like, oh, this is what the movies are about, you know.
Mhm.
And Jessie Buckley gives a great speech during this when she's got the gun on the whole room and says, like life is being brought to you by the monsters. Um,
Mhm.
which seems so true, like in the face of Jake Gyllenhaal and his high society friends, like rejection and snarkiness. That was a great moment of like true rebellion.
Mhm.
And then there are great moments in the getaway car where they're on the road. It's very reminiscent of Bonnie and Clyde, but you're rooting for them. And they've both got this real energy as performers, just like
Mhm.
wild, lively energy. So it's fun to watch them. Her costume and makeup are amazing, fantastic. So it looks great for a lot of it. So I would say there were like high points that made me glad I went to the movies. But then there are all these other things that are confused, like I'm not quite sure at the end of the day what the feminist take was, even though a lot of like feminism is raised.
Mhm.
We'll get into this, I'm sure, but
Yes.
one of one of the refrains is from Bartleby the Scrivener, a famous story by Herman Melville, which made me just like, because it's like such a grad student
Yeah.
text.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Bartleby is interesting in and of itself. It's about it's called Bartleby the Scrivener of Wall Street.
Mhm.
Melville wrote it in like the 1850s, and Bartleby in this story just keeps like refusing. He's got work to do, but he says, "I'd rather not,"
No,
and
his
he
the line
refuses.
is, and it's, "I would prefer not to."
I would prefer not to. So sorry.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
and because she keeps saying it over and over and over and over, and you're like, "Yeah, yeah, that is the one line everyone knows, obviously, from the story." You don't even have to read the story to get that line.
But the
Mhm.
point of Bartleby is kind of like it's refusing the monotony and soul killing nature of modern life,
Mhm.
but it's used in The Bride as like about women and consent.
Mhm.
So I prefer not to. Almost always has to do with like sex and love, like either getting married or having
Mhm.
sex. And it's like, well, these are different things. I mean,
Mhm.
that's kind of unfortunately like a rather eternal thing for women and their
Mhm.
role in the world is that um do they get to consent to what their bodies do or
Mhm.
whatever, which is different than this like Melville's point, which is about the particularities of modern life and the
Mhm.
grind. And it's like, well,
Mhm.
these things aren't the same. And then even that in the film is kind of by the end, it's clear that the bride falls in love with Frankenstein,
Yeah,
but she doesn't marry him. He proposes to her and she says, "I'd prefer not to." And you're kind of like, well, why? And then she names herself the bride.
and
She
then you're
chooses
really confused.
herself, and you're like, I don't get it. Like, what is the film's
It's
attitude towards marriage?
yes.
Yeah.
Especially because it's like approved of by, you can tell that Frank is kinda wowed by this, and it's like, "Wow, this is the ultimate." Yes, and I think Mary Shelley chimes in again. She has voiceover narration kind of.
Yes.
She from limbo, she is observing all this, and she's like, "Yes, that's very good." And I'm just sitting there going,
Beep.
Why? Why of all the names? You know,
Yep.
she's gone through Ida. Frank names
Penelope.
her Penelope or Penny. He wanted to name her Ginger Rogers after a musical comedy star. She's like, Ginger. So he makes up a name, Penelope, and then calls her Penny, Penny Rogers. And then she finds out, of course, they didn't know each other. And you know, and then she's like, when she finally takes a name, it's the bride. And you're just, it's baffling. It's like, why?
Right.
Why is that? Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's it. I mean, thank you. So, naming is like a super important part of the film.
Yeah.
And by the end, you come to, the character chooses the name of the bride for herself. And I was utterly mystified as to what the hell that meant, because
Yeah.
she doesn't want to be married.
Right.
But they do say like the bride is, you're not yet married. So maybe there's like, I'm going to take a leap here and say it has something to do with like potential or always being on the verge of something. Like, all right, but like I'm stretching here, folks. I'm stretching.
Well, then you're on the verge of being married and being somebody's wife. So you're just like, that is odd. That is odd as hell. I guess it's trying to reconceive the whole notion of the bride based on the radicality of the image from 1935, which is it just becomes instantly iconic.
Yeah.
Elsa Lanchester as the bride with the electrified
Mhm.
updo and the hissing swan reaction. And of course, keep in mind the bride completely rejects her bridegroom. And there's
Yes.
no falling in love. It's a 5-minute scene that goes immediately into film history. It's one of the great scenes ever. She hates him, as he says, she hates me. Yes, on sight, she wants no part of being the bride, but everyone just their eyeballs are seared by this image, and she just becomes this iconic figure. So is it something that the bride herself is somehow radical?
Mhm.
Just in and of itself, removed from circumstance? I don't know. And but this is the kind of thing you find yourself doing in the movie. Like,
Yes, exactly.
okay, let me try to work this out since it hasn't worked out for me.
Definitely. Definitely. So that, those were the annoying things. It's like I know there are statements in here, and I'm down with I think it's great to have it, this character has like a lot of female rage. She's always being like assaulted or nearly assaulted. It
Yeah.
seems like a good reason to go rebellious and haywire. That's
Mm,
totally cool. I'm just confused about the ways it was put together. So,
mm,
and the whole bride thing. So there's there's like too much high culture or something dropped into it, like in confusing ways,
mm.
where it's like, just let it be, you don't
Yes.
need to quote Melville, like
Exactly.
just
Well,
let it
yeah,
be a
there's
show for
way exactly.
yeah,
It's like she somehow got 80s, 90s, that Pomo light damaging that was so bad in cinema for a while. It
yeah,
was just all this dumb referencing all over the place, and that was for the cool kids, and you're just like, not like it wasn't possible to do something with it, but usually nobody did anything with it, so it was just this dumb tick in a lot of movies, and it's like she's brought it back. So it's
yeah.
just, yes, reaching for this reference and that reference all over the place, things that don't go together at all, and you're just like,
Me?
"Are you proving you went to college?" I don't know.
Yeah.
She did, Columbia University. She
Oh,
studied
well,
literature and Eastern religions because of course she did, so
okay.
but anyway,
Oh, harsh but true. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but anyway. So, and further, or shall I chime in?
I think we're gonna. Well, my one segue will be
Yeah.
also speaking of Frankensteinian parts. There are characters
Oh,
like Peter Skarsgård and
like
Penelope
mine,
Cruz
which is I'm
make
literally get wearing the hat of the most boring figure in the movie where you're like, "Why are you here?"
100%. There's like this B plot that makes no sense at all. Eileen, take it away.
Oh, it's the most bewildering because there's so much screen time
Yeah,
where you're getting to you do get invested in Frank and the bride.
yeah,
'Cause all the wild energy of the film and the look of the film is with them, and then
yep,
you have to keep being pulled away to these 2 utterly artificial characters to the point they're so artificial that you're like, "Is this some meta again, some '90s damaged thing
yeah,
they're trying to do? And if so, what?" And calling Penelope a character played by Penelope Cruz, Myrna Malloy, a total Stan Lee kind of Lois Lane-ish kind of name, and she's playing a Lois Lane-ish figure. She's wearing prim, put together little working
Yeah.
what they used to call working girl, but they didn't mean prostitutes,
Yeah.
suits, and she just looks from outer space, and you're like, why are we spending all this time? And here, I'll go in, I have to go into a little bit of a deep dive. One of the films that's being heavily used for the plotting, which no one's gonna know but a nerd like me, probably, is it's a good movie. It's an old Warner Brothers crime film called Marked Woman, and it is a very
Yeah.
feminist woman. It's noted for it. But they take part of the plot of The Bride from this movie. It's about Humphrey Bogart, very young, plays a crusading DA, district attorney, who wants to bring down a big gangster, and he persuades the bar girls, who one of whom is Betty Davis, played by Betty Davis, who are working for the gangster, to start informing on him, and they're going to wind up testifying at trial if they survive. That's the question. If they are found out, they will be horribly, brutally tortured and killed, which starts happening. Betty Davis is found out somehow. She is brutally, brutally beaten. This is one of the ways that Betty Davis became famous. They put a little symbolic like bandage on her face, and she's like, no. She slipped out of the studio, went to a doctor, and said, if you were brutally, brutally beaten,
Yeah.
and they carved an X into your face, what would your bandages look like? And she got bandaged by a professional, came back, and insisted on shooting the scene. And that was one of her legendary moments of, I don't care, I don't want to look good, I wanted to give a good performance. So anyway, so that happens, but more pertinently for the bride, before that, and it might even be her sister, or at least it's her friend, gets found out and hurled down a flight of stairs and killed. So the same thing that happens to Ida. So it turns out, you only find this out at the end, so the big spoiler, that Ida was one of the bar girls. That what's been happening is that they're working at a gangster's joint as bar girls, and they're informing on him. They're spying on him and feeding information, but instead it's to the Jake Wiles police detective character. And he has somehow abandoned them. It's a little unclear what exactly happened, how we set them up to do this and then abandon them. In the Betty Davis movie, the DA just winds up succeeding. He gets a huge career boost for nailing this gangster. And while he's getting all this praise and being interviewed, you see the survivors, the bar girls, slipping away, completely ignored because no one wants to know anything about them. And it was their triumph, but they don't get anything out of it. In fact, one
Mhm.
was killed and one is scarred for life. So it's a very bitter ending and really a cool film. But this informs this whole backstory about what was happening with Ida. We see her in an early scene where she's being half possessed by the spirit of of Mary Shelley, and she starts breaking out, and she's doing kind of her own tough girl sass of 20th century Chicago, mixed with sudden flights of 19th century upper class British denunciations of men in power, and she winds up shouting out things that this gangster who's sitting in the restaurant has done.
Mhm.
That's why she winds up being killed by his goons. It's after this outburst. So anyway, much later you find out that this is what's gone wrong with the Jake Wiles character. He's drinking, he's burned out, he looks sort of unshaven. It's because he can't live with what he's done.
Mhm.
He winds up seeing her, thinking she was dead, and of course, if she is dead, she's undead, but she's up walking around, and he cries, and there's all this stuff going on, so you're like, okay, but none of it works. I can't stress enough. It's all tonally completely out of register with the rest of the film.
It comes really late
Oh, it's
also.
late. Yes, you meet
Yeah.
them late in the game, and all these reveals are really toward the end. And
Mhm.
you really don't care. I don't know how to. Maybe if they built it in more strong, she built it in more strongly earlier or something, but you really don't care.
Yeah.
You don't need a further explanation, really, of what's going on with the bride beyond she's an angry young woman anyway,
Yeah.
and then she gets killed and reanimated, and yeah, she gets turbocharged in her rage and what she can do about it. That's all we need to know. So just let
Totally.
that go on. But Maggie Gyllenhaal does this repeatedly, where we're just stuffing crap into the film that we don't care about.
Yeah.
And so, but those are the main things, those 2 characters and their whole storyline. And of course, it's another storyline of women, being abused, put down, sidelined, not getting credit for what they do. It's another of these stories, but
Yeah.
it's such a weak one that you're just kind of like, I never want to see these characters again, and you keep shoving them in my face and trying to make me care. And so
Yeah.
it's one of the huge weaknesses. Huge. Something
It
she gets away with, that Frankenstein in his loneliness has become a movie fan. obsessed with this tap dancer.
That's adorable.
Somehow she pulls that one off.
It makes sense.
And they keep going to the movies. This happens, like, seems to happen many times. It was probably only, like, twice, but they keep going to the movies because he's
That's
such
like
a
5
movie.
times.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of times. Is
Yeah.
it that many? Because in my mind, it was
Yeah.
really a lot.
He goes at least twice, they go at least twice.
Okay, so it is a lot. Okay, so I'm not
Yeah.
making this up. But
No.
yes, my impression was, Jesus, do they need to go to the movies? So anyway, but somehow something about the look of the black and white film and the Mary Shelley character who's trapped in black and white in
Yeah.
this limbo posthumous state. Somehow she pulls off a lot about the look. The look of the film in the
Mhm.
beginning is so good. I was so excited. Like the
Mhm.
look of the bride, and you got some major
Competition.
precedent to fill here.
Yeah.
Because the James Whale bride is you know what the look is, and you've probably never seen the film.
Yeah.
But in this, she's got bleached white blonde hair, and it's just it's all stacked in this crazy 30s perm, and it just keeps getting wilder and messier and crazier and looking better all the time. And she's in
Yeah.
this, and then she's got her lips are actually black after she's brought back to life. Something about the chemicals they use supposedly, and this wonderful splotch of chemical has burnt into her face, and it's black. And it becomes this iconic thing that rebellious women much later in the film, start imitating. You get a little montage of women who've all painted, and her tongue is black, and they imitated her makeup, and they start going on rampages and attacking men who were abusive and all this jazz. It's not a long montage, but it has again that regrettable kind of thrown in quality of like, wait, she inspires a rebellion, but she doesn't know anything about it, and you give it a little 2-minute montage, and that's it.
Yep.
It was another like, oh, what are you doing? Where are you
Just
putting your
not.
energy here?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
But anyway, but the look is, and there's an orange dress. It is so good, and I have an anecdote I have to tell. It's Sandy Powell, who's like a famous director, and what are her credits? She's got so many.
Carol, costume.
Cruella, Carol,
Yeah.
The Favorite, but I don't. You can name so many films. She's had a huge career.
Mhm.
She designs this wonderful orange dress that the bride is going to wear through the whole film, basically. And incredibly, Maggie Gyllenhaal did not want that. And she's telling the anecdote herself, Gyllenhaal, in interviews. She did not want this dress. And she kept, sort of fighting Sandy Powell on it. And she's like, does it have to be like so? She didn't want it to be that vibrant. Why? I don't know. She said, couldn't it be like a brown dress? And Sandy Powell said, I don't make brown dresses. Like a beautiful Devil Wears Prada moment of fashion. Of just like, no, there will be no brown dress. So, but it's inexplicable because you're like, you couldn't take one glance at the bride character played by Jessie Buckley and go, we have
That's
nailed
it.
this. Is perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. It's really memorable and somehow just contains everything that's great about the movie is in the
Yeah.
look. And that
Yeah.
keeps you in scenes, even as it's, to me, the movie, I'm more critical of it than Dolores. I agree that dance scene, to me, that is the high point of the film. Everything building up to the dance scene is like, okay, this is going well. And then it just, for me, just starts unspooling in the most disheartening way. But
Yeah.
part of what keeps you in the film is just looking at her. That's how great she looks.
Yeah.
I just like, but at least I can just look at her moving around in that dress, in that makeup, okay, I'm still in the movie then.
Yeah.
So can't say enough about the strength that apparently Maggie Gyllenhaal kind of stumbled over. She didn't even want it, essentially, or a major component of it. And Buckley is just great. She's great as Mary Shelley. She's bizarre as Mary Shelley, but that's good. She doesn't have that sense of, in the 19th century, they were just like us. And like, no, they fucking weren't. So she finds a way to translate what would have been the total strangeness of the way they talked. I mean, there are examples you can give. It's sort of like famously, Jennifer Jason Leigh decided she gave a performance as Dorothy Parker. So she went back and listened to tapes of Dorothy Parker talking and recreated Dorothy Parker's exact accent. And I think it was called Mrs. Parker and the Vicious Circle. And every single review was like, it's so distracting. And it seems so mannered and crazy that you can't concentrate on the movie because this accent is so insane. It's literally, she's imitating the exact accent. People just talked differently.
Yeah.
And so Buckley is smart enough to find this just crazy, but somehow you believe it.
Yeah.
Performance as dead Mary Shelley. And she's just yeah, she's in this practically, I don't know where, she's just in a black limbo from
Yes.
somewhere, railing, you know, about her own fate, about what happens to women, about how she's investing in the bride, is becoming this something, this force, to express women's rage, in this new and productive, full of potential kind of way.
Yeah. That
It's
was I agree that I was nervous too when that
Hmm.
started. I was like,
Oh, exactly, like, this could go so campy, badly
right.
wrong, and somehow she stays on the right side of the line, somehow it winds up working.
It totally worked, and the conceit worked, like, I give Gyllenhaal credit for this, for that, like, black and white nether dream region
Mm,
that Mary Shelley comes from,
mhm,
and Mary Shelley has this kinda, like, ratty, dark hair,
yeah,
and also just, like, a piece of lace, kind of
yes,
mimicking Elsa Lanchester, like a reverse Elsa
yeah,
Lanchester, so her hair's dark with, like, 1 shock of white,
yeah,
Elsa Lanchester's was white with shocks of black,
yes, yeah,
but,
and she
it's it
and
it works.
it works, and she
Yeah.
somehow conveys this kind of rattled damage.
Mhm.
Something about the way she's holding her mouth, you're just like, what has happened to this woman in life and or death
Yeah.
that has made her so so strange, but so compelling.
Yeah.
So there are elements that, like, on paper just shouldn't work, that she pulls off magnificently. It's just that they contain so much potential, and then it just, for me, all just drains away in,
Yeah.
like, vague, what are you doing? You're trying to do so many things that I'm not sure you know what you're doing, where you seem to know early in the film. You seem to be really on to something. But you needed to fulfill it and you kinda didn't, so now we wind up floundering around trying to articulate, "What are you doing?" I mean, there's such weak moments. One of the ones that's being mocked by a lot of critics, is there's a scene where, the Ida bride character is ranting about something, and she starts shouting, me too," and you're
Yeah, I
just like,
saw that, yeah.
"No, no." I mean, this is the kind of, like, just everything but the kitchen thing sink, kinda throw it in there for a topical moment.
Mhm,
That's so weak, and that you can't believe no one sat Maggie Gyllenhaal down and said, "This is a $90 million this is a huge movie, and you
mhm,
have a chance here to really do something exciting. Don't throw it away in this much weaker, I would say, 2nd to 3rd act or whatever it was, 2nd half than the
yes,
1st half.
yes.
'Cause you're just pissing it all away, all this great energy, all like, when I read about the movie and it was like that she inspires some sort of rebellion among
Yeah,
women, I was like, "Okay, okay, this could be great," and then it's nothing.
it's nothing.
It's just thrown away.
And it's so confusing, like, they have the mafia be the bad guys, but it's
Yes.
like, that's so ezy, like, yeah, it's the mafia, they're bad.
Yeah.
Like,
I
wouldn't it be more
know.
powerful that if it was, like, the halls of power?
I was about to
You
say,
know?
government? Yeah,
Yeah,
government figures,
yeah,
something. I mean, Marked Woman is clearly doing something more
yeah,
than this movie, and yeah, and it's the same kind of thing where if you're really into old movies, like, and you're into Bride of Frankenstein, she's clearly so inspired by there's this crazy doctor, which is where she gets the Doctor Euphonious, he's Doctor Pretorius, he's played
mhm.
by Ernest Thesiger, who's just this, can't even describe the crazy, macabre, prissy, yet hilarious and hilariously eccentric and not of this world doctor who's got a whole other way of seeing the world, and he's thrilled with the idea of the undead and this undead couple, and he just says these wonderful lines that seem to be all about he's seeing an alternative possibility in the world.
Right,
That
right.
is the thrill of the film. Of course, it doesn't work. It dies at before it can start at the end of the film when the bride rejects and Frankenstein pulls the whole place down and it's over. But you catch this glimmer of his excitement the whole world could work differently if
Right.
we let go of an awful lot of conventions about how we have to live, love, the whole idea of marriage, the whole idea of procreation, everything that drives the society we're in. What if we just overturned it and lived a
Mhm,
whole other way? So clearly she's after some of that spirit.
mhm,
And I'm like, great, but it doesn't have nearly the power. It starts off having,
mhm.
really having glimmers of it, really. And I was so hopeful. And then to me, it just like, it was a bitter disappointment by the end, really. Wow.
Yeah, I was too confused. There were moments, again, I think there are moments where that alternative is possible, especially
The
when, like,
wild dance is one of them, yeah,
definitely.
and it is a great dance, the choreography is really good.
It's fantastic.
Mhm,
Even them living their Bonnie and Clyde lives and, like, picking up coins in the fountain,
mhm,
living very much, like, on the outskirts of capitalism as
mm,
well.
mhm,
That was pretty thrilling,
mhm,
Yeah, there are good moments, and we should give some time to Annette Bening, who plays the Dr.
yes,
Pretorius,
yes,
analogous character, who
yeah,
I thought was great. I thought and had really good chemistry.
yeah,
I thought with Frank.
with Frank, yeah. I
Yeah.
didn't get it at all, I didn't get what she was doing, I have to say. What it would tell me what you liked. I did not like that.
Oh, I thought she captured mad scientists, and there was something about her
Mhm,
that was very accurate. I thought about academics,
uh-huh.
something deeply unfeeling.
That was for sure.
Yeah, and I was like, "I recognize that from academia, that's correct,"
Oh,
and just
wow.
like
Okay, well, that makes it better already than what I was thinking. I just couldn't seem to get a beat on it. I was just like, I know she's doing Mad Scientist, that's clear,
Yeah,
but,
and she was just, like, interested in how far they could go, and, there was something about her where it's like you want her to be more caring and more traditionally feminine, like or I
mhm,
found myself wanting that, like,
mhm,
"Come on, character, like, be nurturing or something," and, like,
mhm,
that's just not what she has to offer.
yeah,
I
and
I I don't know, I thought in
mhm.
just her presence, I thought was, like, lively and vivacious and fun to look at.
Yeah,
Um
she's certainly trying to yeah, there's this she's trying to match energy in a
Yeah,
way, yes, that Buckley and Bale both seem able to do. They both seem able to enter into this mad this mad conceit that's going and to realize it in their
yes,
performances in a way that's better than what Gyllenhaal could do in her complete script. They just seem to have been able to embody it.
yes.
Yeah, so that was exciting. Yeah, and yeah,
I
well, your take on it helps the conversation. I was just kind of thrown, like, I don't know what you're doing.
And at the
But
end, I mean,
mm,
I figure, like, her investment so at the end, Annette Bening's character does revivify the 2 dead
yeah.
lovers. Both Frank and the bride are shot, like, a million times.
Yeah, it's very Bonnie and Clyde in the end and being riddled with bullets, yeah.
Yeah, and you wonder and again, there's, this unfortunate extraneous thing introduced at the very end that the doctor herself had a great love story and
Yes, out of
revivified
nowhere.
her dead husband, but he was never the same, so she had to put him down. It's like,
Yeah,
"Alright." And so but that sort of memory or that problem of
mm,
his not coming back the way she wanted, is, like, erased. It's, like,
yes,
raised, like, "Oh, what if we bring them back, these
and
2 and they're not the same?"
they're not the same. That
Yeah.
seemed to be the strongly implied that that was what was gonna happen, but
Mhm.
then Myrna Malloy, who's yeah, she's basically handed by Jake Wiles. He hands her his badge and says, "Now
You're
you're gonna
a
run the
detective
show."
now.
And now all she has to do is hold up in front of, like, 20 male cops this badge, and I'm just like, "What?" And
Yeah.
she suddenly can run the whole show, and I'm just like, "Yeah, that would not happen, so you're really
No,
throwing me here." But
not
anyway,
even the movies.
that's the see, boy, yeah, it's a huge stretch, but anyway, they all leave, and then she says, "I'm gonna leave you alone, doctor, for take as long as you need," as if I'm wow, yes, resurrect the bride and Frank, and you're like, "What is since when? Why is she invested in that? What?"
Exactly. Why would this detective want them to come back? Because her good friend liked the girl? I don't know.
It's
But,
very
like,
strange,
Ida
and
it's
especially since you've just, as you said, had this distracting thing thrown up of like, no, but that potentially will be a very bad thing because they
maybe
won't
they're
be who
still
they
gonna
way anyway,
date.
so, you don't know what you're gonna get. It's very odd. It's just very the whole ending is just like, what do you do? It's just, what are you doing? It's just stunned, like, I just don't even know what any of this is,
But
and then,
they do come back, it ends with their, like,
their
fingers
hands,
moving, so sequels can happen.
yes,
So,
aren't going to presumably, unless it does
yeah,
awfully well overseas because it's doing very badly here. But yeah, so yeah, they are coming back. All right. But you don't know how to feel. I don't
right.
know. I certainly didn't feel like, yeah, I'm not this is gonna be great. Let's have another go round. There was maybe because it didn't build on the certain things that would have been more like Monster Mash and a movement coming out of this that was somehow exciting. And It just
Yes.
seemed like this doesn't go anywhere.
Right. So at the end, like, well, one of the things you find out is that the girls, the bar girls who've been working with the cops to
Yeah,
bust up the
right.
mafia has been killing them and cutting out their
Their
tongues
tongues, right.
symbolically, right?
Yes.
And then at the like during the credits, after the first couple credits, you see
Yes.
the girls cornering the mob boss and the rebellious girls who've
Yeah.
taken on the Bride of Frankenstein's makeup and getting ready to cut out his
He
tongue.
cut
And
his
they've
tongue.
got a collection of tongues, so it's
Yeah.
clear that
Yeah.
they've been on a rampage. And it's like, all right, I guess,
Yeah.
like so I guess if we eliminate all of the the criminals, then misogyny's over, I guess.
I guess. Yeah.
It's like at the end again, it's like, why are you laying this on the mafia?
I
Like
know. Such boring
you're not
choice.
the only misogynists in the world.
Right, right. I know. I mean, maybe she thinks she's balancing it by the cops. Like there's a cop's attempted rape scene, and maybe that's supposed to stand in for corrupt authority, but it really doesn't. It could have she could easily have done much more with, well, most of these cops are crooked, are cooperating with the mob. The government has ties to the mob. It was Chicago, for God's
Right,
sake.
exactly.
And she doesn't do any of that. So you're just like, what? Yeah, it's very, very puzzling choices that you would have thought at the script stage. Someone would have been like, let's work this through.
Definitely.
Maggie, what do you say we try another draft? Because some of this you have not, this is very half-baked stuff. So that is really a shame.
And this is so minor, but whoever was playing the mob boss, was he like French? Like what was
I
that
know,
accent?
what was he? I
That was
know.
not an Italian accent.
No, not at all, and his name is, yeah, what is his name? I've got it somewhere here. Oh, we got it, the cast list. It's I don't know what kind, where it indicates. Zlatko Buric,
Oh,
Buric.
okay, then yeah. As Lupino a Maba. Okay, so this guy's like Eastern
He's
European. I'm sure
European,
he
right?
can like do an Italian accent though if someone
If
asked.
someone asked him, yeah, he's just other. He's just the other sitting there.
It's like, Americans are pretty steeped in like The Godfather. Like we
Yeah,
can tell.
yeah, I
It's
know. So
so weird.
it's all, yeah, it's another of these distractions where you're like, what?
What?
Penelope Cruz, I can't tell you how distracting she is. You're just like,
Right.
why is she in this role? It is just crazy.
And,
With
like, so
that name.
Spanish. It's not like she's trying to be American. She's just
No!
been
Oh my
through
god, it's like
Spanish.
it's almost like, and that she's probably not, it's like she's exaggerating her Spanishness.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Mystifying.
So strange. And there's just other things, like moral issues are raised, but don't have any lasting anything. So, like, the doctor at a certain point is just like, there's lots of things that they're a problem, but it's kind of comical how she just immediately she notes them.
Yeah.
Raising the dead, yeah. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
all sorts of ethical quandaries. Well, carrying on. But then it happens when the bride keeps having these reactions to, did I really shoot that guy? Tell
Aha.
me I didn't shoot that,
Yes.
and you're like going, what in this world of utter mayhem and violence that she's been living before she
Yeah.
was ever killed and brought back? She's fretting about whether she killed the cop, and you're just like, what is happening? That was
And you're right. That does not get followed through.
there's no follow through with it.
There's no like reckoning or I mean
No,
they
no.
just keep going. So
Yeah, so it's very odd. And Maggie Gyllenhaal is talking a lot about the test screenings process. She did change some things
Hmm.
based on test screenings.
Hmm.
So she said, oh, she was loving the test. She was loving getting immediate responses, and so there's some interesting stuff about how she was ready to change the script if things didn't make sense or people didn't like them. Or so she did work after that. But one of the most noted things she brought up was a number of women said, there's so much sexual assault lingered over. I don't really like that. And her answer is, of course, something like, that's just the reality that we live in culturally. I actually also found the way it wasn't that they were there, it was the way she was shooting them.
Hmm.
I really did not care for it. Seemed like she really was going for a certain amount of titillation at a certain
Yes,
point,
exactly.
especially
Yeah.
with the cop. She
Yep.
would keep lingering and lingering over, like, is he actually penetrating? You really feel like, and it was always like Frank is right there and he's Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
But there would always be a reason why, or a no reason, but for some reason he isn't responding. So in the first one, he gets hit in the head and it takes him a while to recover. The first rape scene, it's almost a gang rape.
Mm-hmm.
She's it takes him a while to recover, and you're like, he's fucking Frankenstein. He's
Yeah,
superhuman strength and all that.
gonna get these guys.
And the other, he's got a gun, and he does. He's sitting in the car. The cop has pulled him over for speeding or whatever, and of course he realizes he's got an opportunity to pull off a sexual assault that she can do nothing about. So he's got her out of the car, and he's commencing to do this, and this goes on and on, cutting back and forth with Frankenstein is pretending to be ill and asleep. Anytime he can shoot the cop, it takes forever, and I'm just sitting there going, "Okay, this is now offensive. This is weird."
Yeah, I'm with you. It's funny. I had the same feelings about Emerald Fennell.
Oh yes,
But there's something I don't know. It does seem like the director is taking a bit of pleasure in it, or
yeah,
wants us to. Yeah,
yes, exactly.
yeah,
That was good. That went to a creepy place. I have to say that she doesn't seem super self-aware, Maggie Gyllenhaal. Though
yeah.
I think she thinks that she is very much so, which is of course, symptomatic. And by the way, she knows Emerald Fennell. She's contacted her and thinks she's terrific and is offering her career counseling. I'm just like, hi. And I'm just like, of course you two have gotten together. Of
Oh
course.
no.
Yeah, but let me read
Maggie
a
is
quote.
mine.
I shouldn't read these things because they just make me lose sleep. But this is what Maggie Gyllenhaal thinks she's doing with her film. Quote: Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein on a dare. This movie is a kind of dare. Can you step into a new language, into a new grammar? Can you try something new? What if it turns you on? What if it excites you in a way you haven't felt before? Can you take it? And I'm just like, bitch, please. What movie do you think you've made here? Can you handle it? I was just,
There's nothing extraordinary here.
oh my God. I mean,
Dirty sex and violence.
just the idea that she thinks a new grammar?
Are you Dar? Like what is this?
Well, and it just makes you also realize she's lived her whole life, this amazing, privileged Hollywood insider life. Her parents were already, I think, I forget what they were. They're upper class
Teachers or something.
Yeah, and he was a filmmaker and then something else. But there's clearly money. Apparently, they go back to some ancient aristocratic Swedish line.
Oh God.
Of course they do. And she did the classic going to Harvard Westlake Prep School, followed by Columbia University, followed by, a summer at RADA. And just her whole life is just cushioned and padded with privilege. So you know who she's dealing with. She's dealing with her Hollywood buddies and whatever test screening she's got. So that's why she thinks she's so daring. She's so erudite. She's so this, so she's so all that in a bag of chips, as they used to say. Because in her shallow end of the pool, this passes as like, oh my God, not since Eisenstein.
I was gonna say, I knew it. You had to pick out Eisenstein.
Well, I guess most people would pick Godard. But I like to skip Godard and go to Eisenstein. But at any rate, I was just so you should never read what people say. You just don't read what anyone in Hollywood says.
Yeah.
That way lies madness. But I just trying to find out I just wanted to mainly know what she thought she was doing. If I could find a kind of coherent explanation and I just really couldn't. She was never articulating a full kind of through line.
Yeah.
So when it all goes off the rails for me, there was no real explanation of why. Why Jake? Why Myrna? Why?
Right.
Why? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a kind of a shaker of references, and they don't really have a lot.
Yeah.
Including Bartleby.
Bartleby is a biggie. Is a biggie. Yes.
I think if you stripped it all away and you went, and I'd say include the Mary Shelley bit because that is effective.
No, that was that, and that's directly in the logic of the whole thing. Yeah, it's a wild swing that she pulls off because it actually has a great emotional logic. And again, she's riffing off of the 1935 Bride of Frankenstein, which has a wonderful frame featuring Elsa Lanchester playing Mary Shelley, saying, that wasn't the end of the story, the end of the seeming end of the novel / movie. That just there was more, and now I'm going to tell you what happened, and she's going to tell the story of his quest for a maid and the creation of the bride and all that jazz. So it's coming right from, which by the way is a flawless film. If you want to see a masterpiece, especially tonally, of sustaining a very difficult unusual, like unique tone that
Mhm.
is again macabre, um, um, daring, hilarious. I mean, it's got so many qualities that are just absolutely held together. It's a very short film, but it's so memorable and so well done. But
Yeah.
the same kind of wild swings of I can pull this off. So she just has a much spottier record. She pulls off a couple of things that are pretty remarkable, but then doesn't know what to do with them, in my
Yeah.
view, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Sure. Yeah, it's very uneven. It could I think there was great potential to be just like a really fun genre film,
yes,
you
yes,
know, but we had to stuff it full of
yes.
it was an everything burrito and there was like broccoli in it for no reason. No, like don't put broccoli in the burrito, you know?
Yes. And partly it seems like she was actually going for, no, this is going to be a super, like, the best kind of jolting, and then it'll be a super, like, memorable fun ride.
Yeah,
And so at the end of the movie, she goes to Monster Mash as the final song,
sure.
which is fine, and you're like, "No, that's in that spirit," but then there's
Yeah,
all this other stuff that you're like, "But then what do I do with all of this other stuff?"
yeah.
Which she just couldn't resist throwing in there. Oh, yeah. Um, all movies that get made, mainstream Hollywood movies that get made that try to be feminist movies, I swear to God, it's just become
It's
like
bad
a warning whistle that's sounded as soon as you see the description. You should just run because you're gonna suffer.
because
Uh,
it's always going to be a white upper class feminist. And
yeah.
these are people who think they've suffered because someone has catcalled them. I'm so sorry. I said that out loud. Now you can like clip it because I said it on YouTube. Um,
Yeah.
but I know there are many women who do have other troubles, but like honestly, that's usually where we're coming from.
Mhm.
And it's completely divorced from race and class.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you're missing a lot there then.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I don't know. It's bad. It's pretty
And
bad.
and and but that is the best way to describe that feeling of things just floating around that aren't connected,
Definitely.
um, in
Especially with
the film.
class in this film. It's
Mhm.
raised, but it's not followed through. And
Right.
again, that's putting misogyny, like, at the feet of the mafia.
Oh, no.
Okay? Everything's a mafia, you know? We live in the age of Epstein, like, the mafia exists at the highest levels, and I
Yeah.
mean, the gangsters are the presidents,
Right, right.
like
And it's so close to just being right there. Just
yeah,
take the next logical step,
yeah.
and she keeps not taking it. That's what I mean. Really, if you just have sat down with the script and gone, "Wait a minute."
Yeah,
You then wanna go veering over here and veering over here. Why? What are we getting at here? And
totally.
it seems like she just didn't do it. Yeah, she just didn't.
Yeah, and especially for a film called The Bride, its attitude towards marriage is so confusing. I don't know
Yes.
what it is at the end of the day. I cannot explain it to you.
Yeah,
Only to say that, it's an opportunity for the bride to say, "I prefer not to," and to create her own name,
yeah.
yet the name refers to marriage. The
Yeah.
name she chooses is The Bride. So, color me confused.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that was so odd, that was so odd, yeah, so yeah, so I it's getting interesting reviews in that they're so divided.
Yeah.
It's either people are loving it and just like, "This is just the most amazing, oh my god, I can't get over it," and then, "Oh my god, what a mess,"
I give it a lot of credit for the look. I think it was very consistently beautiful throughout,
yes,
and
it's great.
I was pretty much taken away for 2 hours. There were
Mhm,
times when I was a little, like, looking at my watch, but,
mhm.
in I don't know, in general, like, I had a good time at the movies, and I'm thankful to it for that, you know?
Yeah, and I can only say that for, like, roughly the first. I think it's the first half. Isn't the dance about halfway
Yeah.
through? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and then, boy, does it lose me in a way that I get overly bitter about.
Yeah.
So, I wrote a review that was just scathing, frankly. Other than
Oh,
but it said,
no.
"Oh, no, but these things are great."
Yeah.
I loved those things, but oh my
You were sad
god.
about what could
Oh
have
my
been.
god. And it's just such a wasted opportunity, and of course, it's just flopping so hard.
Mm.
That you're just like, "Yeah, this is just you get these chances. We don't get that many chances. That is one of the horrible facts for women directors.
Yeah.
It's notorious. You get a chance or two, and if it doesn't if it isn't regarded as a triumph, and sometimes if it is, you don't get another chance. So it's a little infuriating to see it be treated in such a cavalier and with such an overinflated sense of doing just peak work. Like in
Right.
the history of cinema, no one has ever rewritten the language of cinema as I have done it. And this movie, like, oh my god! So perhaps it's that combined with the let's make this super fun, inventive genre film that just power drives in a kind of pop feminism that could really have strength. And
Yeah.
then on top, then you get this ridiculous. I went to Harvard Westlake kind of
Yeah.
influence, messing up everything. But yeah, it's amazing when actors are very, very good and seem to understand the material. You sometimes think better than the director,
Definitely.
and that's
And Christian
really
Bale and Jessie Buckley are a power couple.
they're
I
very
mean,
good together.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's more charming than I think I may have ever seen him. He really does a kind of winsome um uh yeah, series of I don't know even know how to express, but he gets across a lot. Doesn't have a lot of speak. He doesn't have a lot of talk.
Mhm.
He is after all the monster, but somehow he conveys all of this warmth and longing, and because again, big shoes to fill. That's Boris Karloff, and Boris Karloff was
Yeah.
sensational.
Yeah.
But he finds a completely unique approach. It doesn't remind you at all of what Karloff did, but it's still super memorable.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so you've got to say kudos, and Jessie Buckley just nails it down. And it's so weird to go from Hamnet, which we just recently did,
Yes.
in which she totally fucking nails it down. I mean,
Yep.
she's the one holding that movie, if you ask me, together, and she's
Yeah.
certainly the powerhouse. In that last sequence where everyone's sobbing their guts up, that's her. That's not Paul Mescal. Paul
Right.
Mescal's up there doing like whatever he's doing as an actor in the play, and she's just
100%.
bringing it all home herself. And
Yeah.
and we're very much on record as like finding her kind of tough to take sometimes.
Mhm.
Especially early in her career, I found her much. Not lately. I seem to be liking her more and more. I don't know what's happened.
I wonder if it was the material she was in, like, early on, because I first saw her in
Mhm.
Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Lost Daughter,
Oh
where
yeah,
she
which I
plays
s- I watched clips from it thinking I was going to watch it, and I'm like, oh no,
You
I
can't.
cannot.
I know that you can't.
I hated every second of that damn thing.
There were elements I'm a big Olivia Colman
She's
fan, but
great.
that movie was not for me. Also very confused and, like, a certain kind of self-indulgent upper middle class white feminism that I cannot.
Yeah.
Um, so poor Jessie Buckley, there's that, and then also we saw her in that, like, folk horror film about
Oh,
men.
men. Yes.
And
Yes.
that also seemed like it was like a grad student thesis, and
Yeah.
she seemed like a grad student, and I've always hated her, and
Mhm.
unfairly. So, Jessie, I apologize. Like, you've been doing some great work. I
Yes,
think I just
yes.
saw you in some material that was
Yeah.
designed to, like, repel me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. And this
So
happens a lot, and sometimes I can tell the difference, sometimes I can't, but I remember when Philip Seymour Hoffman died, and I felt so bad because so many movies of his I literally either I'd seen and hated or I had not seen because he as soon as an actor is recognized as a great actor, which doesn't
mhm.
always happen, by the way, but when it is, they are thrown into a series of usually posh productions, posh, high-minded productions that are often so mediocre and terrible. But
Yeah.
but that's what they get, and it's big paydays, and it's big famous co-stars, and it's the A-list treatment all the way, and that's where they spend their careers. And
Yep.
I'm like, so that's what happened to me. Everyone else is like Philip Seymour Hoffman. I'm like, no, he's great.
Yeah.
Let's just I will now do a
It's
deep
Paul
dive
Thomas
into his
Anderson.
Brandt character in The Big Lebowski because we can then see how great he is at
Yep.
comedy, which he hardly ever did. Of course not, because he's in all of these, you know, kind of
Yep.
kind of drama, prestige dramas that are just like, oh God, really? Does
Oh,
he
and that other oh my god, speaking of Philip Seymour
have
Hoffman, what was that other film that came out during the pandemic? It was, like, super 90s. It was about a couple. I'm thinking of Ending Things.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
I saw it.
yes, and that was also Jessie
That was
Buckley.
her. That's right. Oh, yes, that's why we hated her. Oh no, that is it. That expresses it
That
100%.
movie sucked. It was the worst of Pomo. Oh my God.
Yes.
And yes, you're okay. So yes, you're
That
nailing
is
it.
why you're so right. And that's perfectly I was gonna be like, "Oh, no, how do I bring Philip Seymour Hoffman back to where we should be?" And you just did it, thank you. They
Yeah.
were both in that movie. So, sometimes you can tell, and, Philip Seymour, you could tell. He is so much better than this material. I wish he was in other things that I would like better.
Wait, was he though, or was it Jesse Plemons? I think it was Jesse Plemons,
Oh, it was just oh,
who
you're
looks like
right.
who is Philip Seymour Hoffman in my mind sometimes. I'm so sorry.
You're right. Oh, you're right. It was Jessie Buckley, who is
But
also very, very good.
right, you get it. They're the same.
Yes. Yeah. But at any rate, but we got confused on Jessie Buckley, and at first we're blaming her and thinking she's really a part of that. And now, we see she's fabulous. You can't take it away from her.
Right.
So you can rely on her to get you through a lot of the second half, which is sad. If you go, because people are not going, which again is sad.
That's sad. There's something else out. What the hell are you going to?
Exactly. It's so we're in that terrible time of year. It's post everyone, wanted to get in time at the end of December for all the awards consideration. And
Yeah.
then for months, it's just whatever gets dumped into the market. And most of it is just unwatchable. And it's even hard to find things to review once a week. So this is definitely the thing to see because there's almost nothing else out.
I was wondering about the timing. I mean, does this not seem natural for a Halloween release?
Halloween movie. Exactly.
It was so weird. And then we had Del Toro's Frankenstein, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting cultural timing, but I mean, honestly, truly, I'm just like, what is the deal? Could they just not get it in on time for a Halloween release? It just
Yeah.
doesn't.
Oh, I know. It does seem like you could have, yes, it would have done much better.
Yeah.
They tend to be not doing that lately, and I don't know what is the deal. I keep noticing, but where would be the summer type movies that used to always come out on 4th of July, and now so often nothing comes out that's like that. And I'm like, that was such a guaranteed audience. What the hell are you doing? So
Yeah.
the way they're scheduling movies is odd. Like
Yeah.
the obvious things that would help box office, they're just not using.
Not so much.
So, because they showed the preview for this incessantly. I saw it so many times, and I was just like, I had a vague idea that maybe it was way early and that it would be a Halloween release because it's,
Yeah.
you're seeing the bride sitting on the lab table looking like a half broken doll, and it's such a cool image, and it's such a Halloween image, and then nah. So I don't know what that was about.
That doesn't help. I feel bad for it. I mean, I have my qualms, but I want this movie to do well. I think it's got enough good things personally.
Well, and also just because it seems at least for all, I think there are huge problems, but it seems like it's really driving for something in a way that is, after all, kind of creative and a little bit bold.
Yeah.
And we're not seeing that. So we're in such doldrums as far as cinema that,
the performances are good and it looks great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
anyway, qualified. You should go see it anyway, probably, but
yeah, then we can talk about it.
then you can do this. Then you have something to talk about.
Yeah.
For fellow cinephiles who are dying. Oh, and I wanted to do a quick shout out for there's a servant instead of an Igor character who's the assistant to whoever the mad scientist is. There's a maid character called Greta, who's this kind of I don't even know, this kind of hunched, raddled, ancient, very strange character who does seem like she's out of a Mel Brooks film.
Yeah.
Been played by Cloris Leachman, but instead it's played by Jeannie Berlin, who is Elaine May's daughter, and she's had a long career as an actor, often in small parts, but still she's very. If you want to see her be great, see The Heartbreak Kid. It's a '70s movie, and she finally gets a lead female role, and she just spikes the ball on that one. She's tremendously great. You can't believe she didn't have a bigger career. So anyway, Elaine May's daughter. There, and it's a tiny role, but she still registers at a high level of oddity, which you needed to be able to do.
Yeah.
She seemed to kind of again be an actor who knew the best parts of what Gyllenhaal was going for.
Mm-hmm.
In ways that couldn't be torpedoed, which poor Peter Sarsgaard, who is after all the husband of Maggie Gyllenhaal. I would think he would have watched that movie and said, "I want a divorce." Bring to me, woman.
What is this character?
But maybe not. Maybe just having a fairly big part is enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think final thoughts?
No, that's it. You know, I
think
don't
that's
know.
it.
I say go party with the bride. It's a
Yeah.
little bit confusing, but at least it's a party.
Yes, at least and there's literally a party scene that's worth watching. So
Yeah.
yes, there is that.
Uh,
So that's it for our episode entitled "The Bride: A Messy Monster Mash." Thanks, dear listeners, and of course, triple thanks to our subscribers who keep us able to pay our high electricity bills. A little Frankenstein humor there. If you're not a subscriber yet, but you like what you hear, please consider signing up with Patreon for all the Film Site content instead of just the half that's available to the public. And is also now available to view on YouTube, including this one. This will be released in both just audio, but also a visual versions. You can follow News of the Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Join us in 2 weeks for more. Oh no, what am I saying? 1 week. We're doing a special Oscar episode. So that'll be released in 1 week, right after the televised Academy Awards, which is happening on March 15th. So the Tuesday right after that will be our extra special episode for paid subscribers only. So we're getting some extra content because no doubt we'll be ranting and raving because it's the Oscars and there's always so much to fulminate about when it's the Oscars.
You know it's gonna be that.
Yeah. So until then, a week away, we wish you happy viewing, everybody. Bye now.
Bye.